So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're finally taking a look at Last Battle Shima, 1945. Today we're just going to do a solitaire playthrough of this game. The game is put out by Revolution Games, designed by Mike Ranella. This is the final battle in the Pacific in 1945. Final last ground combat, at least, last little atoll that was taken. Was bloody fighting over the course of 4 days. There's a lot of cool history in the battle. This is a neat magazine game. It was not particularly expensive. I think it was 25 or 30 bucks at the most. You get a beautiful map, great counters as you can expect. There was an unboxing a while back. One of the neat parts about this game is you can see it's an area impulse game. Very similar to something like Patton's Vanguard, which we recently played. And this is a little bit simpler than that, just because of the nature of the combat itself. But one of the kind of talking points of this game is this little box down here. It's and it's to do with Ernie Pyle, who was a war correspondent. I mean, he covered the war, writing newspaper columns and reports as early as 1941, covering the Battle of Britain when he was posted in the UK. Covered North Africa, D-Day. He was part of the campaign in Italy as well, and then he moved over for his final assignment in the Pacific, where this was his final assignment because in this battle he was killed by a Japanese sniper, and so kind of as a testament to that, they put a little picture of the sign that the troops put up, that he was embedded with, that says, you know, it's at this spot, the 77th Infantry Division lost a buddy, Ernie Pyle, 18th of April, 1945. So it was that was the third day of the action. And they made a little Ernie Pyle counter. He's kind of your +1 counter that you can put into combats. It's kind of a morale boost to get a bonus as the ally player. In the game you get this cool pamphlet, which is really neat. About the Ernie Pyle Museum, and there's like a historical site, which I just found out, and this is shame on me, this is 2 hours away from where I live, so I'm actually going to go take a visit there this summer when they open. But what we'll do, we'll just play it solo. We'll go through from start to finish. We'll do all 4 turns. It's an impulse-based game, and after that we'll kind of sum up how we felt about the game. Chose to do this one solo because, frankly, the Japanese are just going to take a beating the whole game. Maybe not necessarily the most fun two-player game, but it looks like a cool solitaire game. So just as a quick introduction, obviously there's a map with all the different areas. Each area has a number. I think there's 16 areas in this game, so not very big. And then there's also a positive number, which is a modifier. Normally the little designation for the areas is a circle. If it's a square, that's an urban area. Usually there's these are +3, +4, much higher defensive values. And it is possible that rubble can be placed there due to bombardments, which gives an extra +1 on top of that. So you create a bunch of rubble, and Japanese soldiers and their combatants hide in the rubble, make it more difficult to get them out. Every space on the island has a Japanese control marker on it. They start in total control of the island. As the Americans come along, those will get flipped as they take control. The goal of the game is for the Allied player to get 10 victory points. Victory points come from certain areas that have a victory point listing. There's red writing that tells you this is 2 VPs, 2 VPs, 2 VPs, 2 VPs. This is 3 VPs, this is 3 VPs. And on turn 1 only, this airfield is worth 1 VP. So if you don't take it the first turn, it's not worth anything. So there's not a lot of victory points to be gained. I think there's a maximum of 17, I want to say. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you can get 15 off the board. And then you get negative victory points for every 5 reduced or eliminated units. So you've got to take enough ground with minimizing your losses to be able to win. The Japanese, it's just about holding ground and inflicting losses. That's all they're trying to do. It's just slowing the advance. So just kind of as a I guess it's a run into this game, the Americans have these landing approaches, which can basically not be targeted. They're basically non-combat spaces. It's where these guys are going to land. I have the 306th Regiment and 305th Regiment here. They're going to land on these spots and just start pushing in. These are quite easy spaces to take, so maybe there's a path around here and then encircle this. Difficult to say. But these are also supply points. As long as we can trace supply, we can get refit points to rebuild units at the end of each turn. The Japanese get their supply from Mount Gusuku, probably mispronouncing that horribly. If they can trace supply back here, they can replace some of their units. The Japanese have some special units in this holding box over here. There's a mixture of pillboxes, machine gun nests, and basically civilian combatants that they coerced into fighting at their side. Mostly those are going to be held off. The pillboxes I've got to place during the day, but the machine gun nests and the little civilian units, they can do surprise attacks and pop up at night, so we'll wait a little bit on those, because I think we can do some powerful counterattacks with those. And then finally, there's a couple of bombardment markers. So we have some artillery, some naval-based aircraft, and then some battleship bombardments. These are used as like, my turn is to do a big attack with those. You just use this combat value, which is an 8, and basically it's only the terrain modifier. They don't really get to fight back and use their combat strength to defend themselves, because it's just shells raining down on them. So very simple in that way. The Japanese have a couple of things. They have one artillery piece, which once it's used, it goes to its used side, so we'll be careful about when we use that. They also get a kamikaze attack once per turn. This can be used to attack the naval bombardment here, and if it's successful, this gets flipped, so it would be unable to be used that turn. So that could be quite powerful, saves us from this big 8 attack. Or it can be used to attack one of these beach approach zones, and if you're successful in attacking this, you don't do any wounds to the guys in there, but you stop them from being able to gain a refit point from there. Because the refit points, which we'll use to heal our guys and rebuild destroyed units, we get 1 from this box, 1 from this box, and in turn 2, we get 2 from this box, if these beach areas are clear. So if we can use the kamikaze plane, we might be able to kind of limit the amount of refit points that the Americans are going to get from that. But really outside of that, the Japanese have all of their big units in the urban areas and on the mountain, ready to defend in the terrain. So I think it might just be a quick battle on these lowlands. Americans might sweep in, and then this is going to be quite a challenge. There's a few forces on the beach where they're quite weak, and these American forces, each of these regiments has 4, or each of these battalions has 4 companies in it. And they're 4 strength and 6 movement points. And there's some movement rules that we'll just kind of go as we do it, and really that's it. We'll go through the combat modifiers as we get there. I've got a great play sheet. This is available on BGG if you wanted to download this and kind of read along as we go through some of those modifiers. You can correct all my numerous mistakes I will invariably make during this video. So let's get started with turn 1. So let's get things kicked off. We've got some D6s here in a dice tray. We'll put these here. For the game, we'll do, the Japanese are going to be the red dice and the US are going to be the white dice. The only other thing to notice that I think I forgot was this advantage marker. Kind of a wild card. It can be used for a single combat reroll, or it can be used to gain 1 refit point during the refit phase, at which point it flips. Kind of allegiance, say you got a Japanese side. Starts with the US side, and so they kind of have the initiative with using that extra reroll there. Represents abstractly, extra resources, a little bit of luck there. In the game, the Japanese always start each impulse turn, so they're going to go first. During the daytime phase is the only time they can build a pillbox. So they're actually going to go ahead and do that. Now we're going to go and place out a pillbox here as kind of a coastal defense. And we're going to go ahead and put that there so that they can defend nicely. That's going to help us repel guys from the beaches, I think. The single rule being that where the pillboxes are placed, again only during the day, has to be in supply. And in a game this small, it would be quite difficult to find yourself out of supply, although that is possible. If you had Japanese units over here and they got cut off, they'd be out of supply. But for the purposes of the game, everything's in supply currently. So normally, that's kind of the only thing that they could do, that's their activation. But the only other thing they can do is this kamikaze attack. And it's a special bombardment that kind of happens out of turn almost. It's like an extra bonus thing they can do. And they can only do it once per turn. So the kamikaze attack can either, it can attack the beach approach boxes, in which case it would reduce those refit points, or it will attack the naval bombardment counter. And this is a very powerful bombardment, so I think we're going to try and take that out. Because if this 8 starts landing hits, there's going to be a lot of hits to kind of take care of. So each side's going to roll a d6, or 2d6. The Japanese are going to add 4 for the kamikaze, and the defensive value of the US naval bombardment counter is actually a 6 in this particular special instance. So they're shooting down the planes on picket duty. We roll the bones. So the Japanese have a 6 plus 4 is 10, and the US has 6 plus 7 is 11. So it's actually an unsuccessful kamikaze attack. Nothing happens as a result, in the sense that the kamikaze counter is used and that's it. There's no extra parts that happen there. So that was the first Japanese impulse, just building some defenses there, basically. Trying to do that, that was unsuccessful. That's a shame for the Japanese player there. So, for the first impulse of the US turn, I think we're going to go ahead and activate... there's actually a special rule where we can activate both of these beach approach landing boxes on turn 1. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So first of all, we're going to land this regiment. So this is a... Well, we're going to land these guys. I think this is a battalion. We're going to land these guys here. So we've got, I think, 4 companies. And they're going to land, and in doing so, they have to do a combat. This was enemy controlled. When they move in, there has to be combat. So this combat's got a few more modifiers to it. Basically what we do is we choose one unit to be the lead unit, and we're going to choose this one. They're all the same, so it doesn't really matter. So we've got a base attack of 4, and you add +1 for each full strength unit, 5, 6, 7. And then there's a couple other modifiers that kind of go into that. We could use some artillery support if we wanted to. I don't think we need to. We're going to bring along Ernie Pyle for morale. He's going to give us a +1 as well. I think that's kind of what we're going to go with. And he can only do that once per turn, but I think getting us a good beach landing there is going to be good. Battalion bonus if all 4 units are present. So if all 4 battalion units are present, which they are, we get an extra +1. We also, as the US, get another +1 if it's clear weather, which it is. We're not doing artillery support. Don't think we're going to bother doing that. And the Japanese aren't assaulting, so I don't have to worry about that. So the Japanese defensive value, again, they choose a lead unit to defend. It's a 2, so that's not very good. +1, because we have another full strength counter, is a 3. +1 for the terrain effects counter. So this is a 4 plus a die roll for the Japanese. And the Americans have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're +10 to their die roll. So it's +10 and +4. Oh, they needed it. Wow. And that's kind of the cool part of this game. So the Japanese have an 11 +4 is a 15. and the US have a 10 plus 5, which is a 15. And this is kind of where the swinginess comes. It's a game, don't worry about it. So what happens there is we have what's called a stalemate. The attack value and defensive value are totaled and they're the same. The lead attack unit is reduced, which is almost always the case, because it's attrition, you'll always bear some casualties as a brunt there. And the defender has the option to retreat, which they will not. And I don't think we have to retreat, so everyone just kind of stays there, and this becomes now a contested hex. And this has been used for the turn, and we can't use this again until turn 2, so I'm actually going to go ahead and just put it on the turn 2 counter just to be safe there. Nothing happens to the defending units, so that was actually, it's a stalemate. They wounded an American unit, that's good, didn't take any losses themselves, but they didn't repel them off the beaches. Now, we're gonna keep up the assault because we activate this beach approach area, so we can keep pounding troops onto the ground. So we've got another assault. Again, it's going to be the same, except we don't have Ernie Pyle, so we're going to be +9 to our die roll. They're going to kind of do the same assault here. And this time, wow, Japanese fighting very, very severely here. So the Japanese have a 12, and the Americans have an 11. Wow, that's intense. So as a result of that, because the defensive modifier is actually higher than the attacking modifier, they're repulsed, which is very bad. When you do an attack and you're repulsed, all attacking units get flipped. So all 4 of them go to their reduced side. And then the attacker has to retreat. So they kind of go back. They can't fight their way onto the beach. Wow, this is heroic defending by the Japanese here. So what we've got here is we've got 3rd Battalion. They're going to jump on the beach as well. Also have a +9 to their die roll. Japanese still have a +4 to their die roll. Wow. This one is very bad for the Japanese. So the Japanese roll a total of 8, and the Americans have a total of 20. So there's a difference between those two of 12. So the Japanese have to take 12 kind of attrition points is what it's called. Now, even though the attack was a success, the lead attacking unit, we'll say it's this one, they're all the same, didn't really matter in that sense, has to take a wound. That happens every time regardless, basically, with what result. So those guys are all there. And then these 2 dudes have to take, between them, 12 attrition points. Attrition points are set up in such a way where, I think, to flip a counter to its reduced side is 1 attrition point. To retreat is 1 attrition point. To eliminate a reduced strength unit is 2 points. And to eliminate a full strength unit is 3 points. So they wouldn't, even if they were to both flip and retreat, that wouldn't be enough attrition points. So these both have to be fully eliminated. That was a very, very strong die roll. So these guys are both eliminated. And we'll put those down here, just keep those guys tucked out of the way. And as such, this is going to flip to US control. I believe we're going to attempt to assault the beaches here as well. So this one's going to be a bit more risky, just because this 5 defense is a lot stronger. So we're going to kind of rely on our die roll a bit more, or we might call in some artillery support, or we'll just wait. We're going to wait. That's going to be the end of it. Normally, in this instance, we could activate both of these, but we're gonna hold off. I think the US is going to do some bombardments to try and soften that up first. The first die roll that the US made is also considered the sunset roll. That might change the weather. It might end the turn. basically you have to roll under the current impulse number, which is 1. You can't roll under a 1, so we kind of ignored that here. So we just advance onto the next impulse. And so it's a Japanese impulse. And what will they do this turn? Let's see, I think what they might do is they might bring in some support units from here. Because they can't, there's not a lot that they can do. Or we could go for a bombardment. I think we're gonna bring along a couple guys. These guys have 4 movement factors. To move into a hex or into a space is 1, and then to move into another space that is adjacent to enemy units costs 2. So that was 3 total. They're not going to do anything else. They're just going to sit there, I think. So I think that's what they're going to do for their turn. And so it's the American part of the impulse. At which point they're gonna do a bombardment here. So we're gonna use the naval bombardment. We're gonna bombard area number 1. And to do that, we simply roll a 2d6, and we're gonna add 8 from the naval bombardment here. So maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to move those Japanese units in there, but we'll kind of go from there. Let's see. The US Naval can't hit contested urban. Oh, that's fine. So, the lead defending unit in the target, the Japanese are going to choose kind of a... Oh, boy. 8 is a lot. So we can attempt... We're going to choose one of these companies of men, I think. Because they can take a wound... Ugh. Maybe not. We'll defend with the pillbox. So this is going to be their lead defending unit. A pillbox, which is a 5. And then they're going to add the terrain defense modifier, which is a 1. And that's it. So they've got a 6. And the US are going to add an 8. And so then you just roll off. Wow. Close. So they both rolled an 8. So the Japanese have a 14, and the Americans have a 16 altogether. So there's a difference of 2, and that's how many attrition points that they have to take. The good news is that we defended with one of our better with the pillbox. Oh, maybe that is bad. So to take attrition points on there, rats, because they can flip, but they can't retreat. So we actually have to just eliminate them. That's really sad, because there's no kind of change there. So, unfortunately, we've got to eliminate a pillbox. That's no good. So those guys are done for. But it did its job in the sense that it protected the men on the beaches. So that is what it is, I suppose. And this bombardment is used for the turn. So that was the American turn. Again, the Americans rolled an 8. It's not less than 2. So we just proceed to the next impulse. At which point, the Japanese player... What are the Japanese going to do? They're going to... I think they're going to start building some pillboxes over in the mountains. So I figure we're going to end up... They've got to take these hexes in the end, so we'll put some pillboxes and mount as stiff a defense as possible in the urban terrain. So that's what they're going to do. Put Impulse 3. And the Americans are going to... They're going to launch another beach assault, I guess. Or we'll do another bombardment. That's what we'll do. So we'll do a Navy bombardment here. So this is going to be +5. And they'll defend with a 5 as well. So 4 from the lead defending unit, +1 from the terrain defense modifier. And the US are going to bombard with a 5. So it's actually a wash. We're just looking at the die roll. And once again, the die roll is a tie. And in the case of a tie, nothing happens. So just used up that counter. Trying to soften up the beaches. Nothing's taken here. The Americans rolled a 7, so we don't end the turn or anything. So it's the Japanese impulse number 4. I think they might. Let's see. If we should hang on or if we should launch an assault. Well, what we'll do is we're going to move a couple of units around. This guy is going to activate. He's going to go 1, 2, 3. So we have someone defending the airfield. We'll bring another one in. I think we're going to bring a couple of guys in to help defend that. Well, yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll bring those 2 guys in to help defend the airfield, because we're trying to protect this one VP, which is only available on this turn. And as such, I think what we'll do for the Americans, so it's the American 4th Impulse. They're actually going to launch an assault into this area to try and take those VPs. So they'll move in here. They're kind of going to bring everything. Okay. So we'll have A Company from the 1st Battalion. He's gonna be the lead attacking unit. And here we've got a few different kind of situations. So we've got a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total strength. Half reduced units only contribute half, so we've got 2, so that's 10. And then we've got the full battalion of the lead attacking units there, 11, plus 1 from having air support because it's clear weather is 12. So the Americans are going to add 12 to their die roll, and the Japanese have 4, plus 1 is 5. And that's really kind of it. There's not a lot there that they can kind of get away with. So we're just going to roll. Americans are going to add 12. The Japanese are going to add 5. Wow. So the Japanese have a 14, and the Americans have, let's see, they have a 17. So the rolling has gone considerably well, just from a Japanese standpoint. That's not terrible. So to take the 3 attrition points, we're going to flip is 1, and then we'll do retreat for 2, and we'll flip for 3. So that's the 3 attrition points, because that way we keep this contested, and the Americans don't get the victory point quite yet. Again, the Americans rolled a 5, so it's not going to affect the turn. So we go to the next impulse, and impulse number 5. So we're looking at what the Japanese are going to do here, and I think what they'll do is they're going to bring in a few more reinforcements to help this out. Because this area is contested, when these guys move in, there is no mandatory combat. They don't have to launch a combat. They're basically here coming in the rear to kind of fill the ranks. That's going to help us do some more defending. We'll be able to take some more attrition points if we roll poorly to try and hang on to the airfield until the turn ends to prevent the US from getting those victory points. And as such, it is the US turn. Oh, and I apologize. Even though that the assault was a success, the lead attacking unit always takes a reduction. So they're kind of wearing themselves down, and this is where the refit points are going to be important to kind of get those guys back up to full strength. Let's see. They really need to press that attack. So we'll try it. We'll try again. So this time we'll do 3rd Battalion. They're gonna lead the assault. This guy's gonna be the lead assaulting unit. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 1 from the air support is 10. Because this half unit's not going to count. I'm not going to round that up. So we've got it plus 10 to the die roll, and the Japanese player, unfortunately, he's just got a 2, 3. So not looking too healthy there. Wow. Okay. So that's a 6, 7, 8, 9, and the Americans have a 13. Oh, interesting. So again, the die rolling there, it could be significantly worse for the Japanese. There's a difference there of 4, so they do have to take 4 attrition points, but we can simply do 1, 2 to eliminate a reduced unit, and then we can do 3, and we'll retreat 4. So that's all the attrition points they need to take, which means this is still contested. And if you look, the American die roll here is a 3. That is less than the current impulse. So that's the end of the impulse. Means they're totally done, which means the Japanese actually held off, and the Americans will not get this victory point. So that's very, very good for the Japanese there. So let's move on to turn 2 here in just a second. So before we conclude turn 1, I suppose, well, let's do the kind of the refit phase and the night phase. I forgot about that. So during the night phase, there's basically a big single Japanese impulse, so to speak. And after that, we'll do a refit phase where we'll get some reinforcements. So during this particular phase, what we'll do is we'll put out some... I don't know if we really want to do this. We're going to put out an MG nest and a single unit here. You can only put one special unit into each area, and then you can optionally activate that unit to attack, or you can activate everyone in there to do an attack. And I ask myself if that's not a terrible idea to do. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm nervous to do that, just because I don't want to waste the troops that we have. So I think I'm just going to hang on and hold everyone on there. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. Okay. And I did make a mistake ending the turn when I did, because when you have US bombardment phases, that doesn't advance the impulse track, but we did it anyway, but we'll remember that for next turn. So let's move on to the refit phase. So looking here, the US... Oh, that was a very bad decision. So I should have really tried to take that beach area, and I didn't. I didn't realize that. Normally, you only get... This provides one refit point, and this provides one refit point if you control the beach that they're kind of attached to. And I don't control Area 1. Oh, man. And I was hoping to have more impulses to be able to land these guys and take that, but clearly I did not do that. So the Americans only actually have one refit point. So we're going to kind of spend it on some of these guys here. One refit point can be used to flip 2 counters to their full strength side, so we're going to do that. And then I think I'm also going to... This guy should have been flipped as well. So I'll spend my second... I'm going to use the US advantage to give another refit point, and that way we can fix all of these guys up so they're full strength. That's what we'll do. So now the Japanese have the advantage on their next turn. They can kind of utilize that if they need to. The Japanese get one refit point, and they will use it. They'll use it just to flip these guys back over to their full strength sides and bring in some reinforcements, I think. So that's the refit phase. So during the end phase, we kind of check victory, move the impulse back to 1. You advance the turn and whether to clear, and then we flip all the used markers. So we've got the Navy bombardment, you've got the P-58s, or the P-38 Lightnings. P-58? I don't know. And then the kamikaze is going to flip over. So we've got all those guys again. And then we move on to turn 2, where it's still clear. And then we're going to get Ernie Pyle back as an option there. And then we're going to get a ton of reinforcements as well. So for turn 2, we start with a reinforcement phase. The Japanese get half a die roll of their eliminated special units back on the board. They only actually have one special unit that was eliminated, so half of 3 is 1. So they get this back into the special units box. So that was nice. That's going to help them out kind of in the long run. So these regular units that were eliminated don't ever come back. So that's actually not very good. That's very bad. We will be able to build those back but they won't, you know, have to spend our refit points to do that, and that's very costly. The US player is going to gain a bunch of stuff here. So we get 304th, so we got 304th Battalion, there, 304th Division? Regiment, I believe. Regimental Artillery is going to land. It's an extra support unit that they can call for. And then you've got all these brown units. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like a light tan and a dark brown. This is 307th Regiment. So we've got 2nd and 3rd Battalion. 1st Battalion's not in the game for that particular regiment. And they're landing in this beach approach box, the brown one, and they can land at either Zone 14, which is urban and has a +2 modifier, or Zone 5, which has a +2. And there's no one there right now because we cleared that out, so I think the Japanese are going to have to kind of move some troops in to help defend the beaches. Because this +2 modifier is quite nice. These +1s are quite easy to land at, so these guys can have a much harder, bloodier time getting onto the beach. So, turn 2. And it starts with, again, a Japanese impulse. And, yeah, I'd like to put a pillbox out in one of these spaces, but I feel like that would just be a waste of an impulse, so to speak. So what they're going to do is they're going to activate Zone 6 and bring down these 2 units onto the beach. And that's what they're going to do, help defend. It's turn 2, so we lose the ability to activate both of these boxes at the same time, so that's not great. Oh, but before that's over, the Japanese are going to use their kamikaze again. We're going to try doing this. We're going to try and take out that naval bombardment, because that 8 is very nasty. So, to do that, we just roll the bones. The US has a 6, so they were 7, plus 6 is the defensive value. It's not printed on here, but that's what the rule says. So you've got yourself an 11 there, and the Japanese have a 9, 10. So again, unsuccessful. This gets used up. Nothing else happens there. That's kind of an extra bonus that they can have there. So what they'll do, that's the end of the Japanese impulse. So US impulse, well, we just got to go for it, I think. They're going to activate. Oof, these are both not great. I don't want to land them all in one go because it could be that could go very badly. We're gonna land 2nd Battalion on the beach here, and they're gonna do a mandatory assault. Nice clear weather, so we're gonna get a +1 from our air support, and we'll use up Ernie Pyle again. I think getting a foothold on the beach is gonna be very important for us. So we've got 1, 2, 3 full strength counters, +4 for the lead attack unit. So we've got 7, 8, 9 for the air support, +1 for having all 4 of our battalion units there. So we've got a total of 10. And I think we're going to go ahead and try and call in artillery support. So we're going to try and call in artillery support from this counter, which just landed. So to do that, we roll a d6. On a 4 through 6, fire support's available. And we roll a 3, so no fire support, so we can't use this counter, unfortunately. So we just did a straight +10 to our die roll. And the Japanese are going to defend with their 4, +2 is a 6. So Americans +10, Japanese +6. Japanese roll a 7. Ooh, boxcars. This is going to be not good. 4, 6, so 12, 13. The Japanese have 13, and the Americans have 22. So we've got a difference of 9. So they're going to have to take 9 attrition points, and that's going to be enough to eliminate them. There's not enough for them to flip and retreat, because they're going to be removed anyway, so they're just going to both be eliminated. So that's not great for the Japanese there. Making bad losses there. Ernie Pyle doing his job. Because he did... so yeah, he's going to go... We'll put him on the turn track. On turn 3, so he's going to come back in the game there. and this is going to become American controlled. And the lead attacking unit is going to flip to its reduced side, as always. No victory points in that space, but successful attack, successful landing. So that's the end of that impulse. Again, can't roll a 1 on 2d6, so we're good to go. Now, the Japanese on their impulse, oof, that was very bad. So I think they are going to, it's daylight, so we're going to put out some pillboxes. We're going to drop a pillbox here. And that's what they're going to do on their turn. I'm pretty sure that's all they're going to do. It doesn't feel like a lot, but we've got to do some defending here. I guess that's kind of it. Then the US player. All right, I think we got to get some guys on the beach here. I think this is quite nasty. So here's what we'll do. We'll do that bombardment. So we've got a +8 bombardment. And they're going against a 5 defense. So it's an 8 on a 5. We'll use our naval bombardment in area 1. And we've got 6 and 8. So we've got 14 against 9. Against 9. And this unit, the lead defending unit, has to take the first attrition. So we're going to take 5 points here. So we'll go 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's how we're gonna do that. Just so we can kind of hang on there, so we can put up some kind of a defense on the beaches. I know it's not a lot, but it's something. So that was a bombardment, and we're not gonna move the impulse because it's a bombardment. So we're not gonna do that. So we'll go back to another Japanese impulse. Starting to look not great here. These are joined here, so the Americans could sweep in there. So we don't want to leave this area because that's 3 victory points. That would be very bad. We've got to hide in the mountains. Options looking quite slim for the Japanese, and this is why this is a solitaire game for me, just because there's not a lot of stuff that the Japanese can do here. Gosh, launching a counterattack here seems like it would be pointless. But they're going to do it anyway, and they're going to do it in the hopes that we're going to get satchel charge support, which is a +4. Maybe they'll do a bombard. That's what they'll do. But the Japanese are going to do a bombardment impulse. That's what they're going to do. That's a much better option. They didn't do that last turn, and I think they should have. So they're going to bombard this area right here, I think. Oh, that's a +2. Yep, they're going to go for it. We're going to try and gum up the beaches here, I think, and kind of protect this area. So we've got a lead defending unit of a 4 +2 from the terrain is a 6 for the Americans, and the Japanese have a 4 from their artillery. So they're actually firing at a disadvantage, but hopefully we can roll well. Oof, we don't. So the Japanese, their bombardment is ineffective. This is used up. That's unfortunate. They don't mount enough firepower to do any damage to the Americans. So back to another American impulse. For impulse, technically still impulse 2. Well, let's not mess around, I think. We're going to activate this box, and we're going to bring everyone onto the beach. Each faction has a stacking limit of 10, so we've got 8 from this side. I could have 2 more American units there if I needed to, but I think we're good. So let's go ahead. We'll pick a lead unit from this battalion. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. +1 from air support is 12. And we'll call in artillery support as well. We'll try doing that. Nope, unsuccessful. Needed a 4 through 6. So we're at +12 nonetheless. and the Japanese have a 3 defense rating. So yeah, that's gonna be enough here. 12, 18, 19, and the Japanese have a lowly 9, so they got to get 10 points out of here. Not enough retreats. They can't absorb that many. They've got 2 reduced, so this is 4. It's 2 attrition points apiece, so that's 4 total, and that gets rid of all those guys. So looking quite slim. And then this becomes a reduced unit again because he was the lead attacking unit. This is going to become American controlled. They rolled a 7, so the impulse marker just moves up normally, and we continue the turn. And it's a Japanese impulse. I think we've learned our lesson. We can't do any more bombards. So we're going to, during a daylight phase, we're going to put out some more defenses. We're going to put out another pillbox here on the Bloody Ridge, I think is what we're going to do. I think we're just going to have to make a fortress in the towns and in the mountains. And that's kind of how we're going to end up. Maybe we won't do that. We won't do that. I think we're going to retreat. We're going to activate these guys, and they're going to pull back into. They're going to pull back into this area. It's difficult. That's a difficult decision to have to make. They're going to pull back into this area up here so that they can get onto the mountain, or they can slide down to the Bloody Ridge if needed. Which makes this US controlled. Then the US player, quite simply, so they're going to activate this area, and 1st Battalion's going to move up and take this area, the barracks, area 6, and this battalion's going to move back and take area 3, northwest coast. So we're trying to. If the Americans can take every space, then they'll have automatic victory, so we're going to go clear up a little bit here. So that was activating Zone 4. That's what they do on their turn. Now, because we didn't make a die roll, we have to make a sunset roll, so we're just hoping to not roll snake eyes. We're good, so we're just going to proceed to the next impulse. At which point the Japanese don't have a lot of great options. We're going to put out so here's where we're going to start putting out pillbox. We're going to stick a pillbox here on the Bloody Ridge. We feel like we've got a 5 defense there with a +3, so you got an 8 base defense +1 from this guy. That's going to be at least a serviceable defense. We will see how long we can hang on, and I think that's really a lot of what this game is hanging on for dear life. We're going to try and do some counter attacks during the night phase, but we'll kind of see how that ends up looking. So that's what they're going to do. Not going to do anything else, I don't think. So the US, we might do. Difficult to say. We're going to try this beach landing assault. This is just going to be awful. Let's do a bombardment first. We're going to do a bombardment, so we've got a 5, and they're going to bombard here. So we're defending with a. We're going to defend with this unit. So we got 4, 5, 6. So 5 on a 6. Roll the dice. Ooh, excellent. So the Japanese roll boxcars. They fend off. The bombardment does nothing. That's used up. So that worked out in the Japanese favor there. And this also acts as the sunset roll, because this was an American bombardment. Although during a bombardment phase like that, there really isn't a sunset roll. You don't advance it anyway. So back to another Japanese impulse. And I think they're going to build their last. They're going to build their last pillbox, and we'll put it back here. Again, there's 2 VPs up for grabs, and we're going for the highest defensive bonus that we can scrounge, is really what I'm going for there. So that's what they're going to do on their impulse. And the bombardments did not go well, but we're going to try it one more time. We've got this bombardment from artillery battery here. So let's do that. So from a bombardment, you declare the area to be bombarded. So we've got a 7. We're going to attack this area again. We don't want to soften that up before I send my troops in. And then we've got the lead attacker sets lead defending unit Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. Yeah, so this guy's going to be the defending unit again. So they've got a 4, 5, 6, and I'm a 7. So we'll roll again. And the Japanese once again fend that off. They've got a total of 14, and the Americans were able to mount a measly 12. So this becomes used up, and the bombardment again entirely ineffective. So that's not working out well. I wish those bombardments were doing more. Again, even though this is a 5, it wouldn't advance this, but it's a bombardment impulse, so nothing's going to happen. So it's going to go back to a Japanese impulse, where I think... Oh, that's awfully risky. It might be funny, though. 1, 2, 3... Well... I can't risk... I've lost too many of these big units to really risk doing that, so I think we're just going to hang on and not do a lot. So, yeah, mounting any kind of counterattack is incredibly risky, but I think I'm going to do it. And this is probably incredibly foolish, but I cannot help myself. So we're going to use a single Japanese unit. This is a terrible idea. I can already tell you this is a bad idea. Whatever, we're doing it. So we've got 4. We're going to throw in our leader here as well. 5. And we're going to attempt to call in the satchel charges. That's really what we're trying to get to go here. So on a satchel charge, on a 5 through 6, we gain satchel charge support, which is a +4. That's really why we're doing this. So it's oh, and we got it! Yes, fantastic. So we'll just kind of toss this down here as well. So we actually have a 9 attack value for the Japanese. That's really good. That's probably one of the best attacks that they could do. And the defense here, so we've got lead defending unit is a 4. And then we've got 5, 6 and a half. We're not going to worry about that. 6, 7, 8. And I think defensively, assault defense, ooh, +2. Wow. Okay. Each reduced and full strength. Okay, I forgot. So when you're defending, reduced units still contribute that 1. They don't have, when they're assaulting, they're half of an attack point, but when they're defending, they're a full point. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the air support when the US are defending is 2. So they're an 11. So it's still, as good as this Japanese attack is, it's still, they're disadvantaged. It's a 9 to an 11, so we're still looking at a die roll. Yeah, and the US rolled well here. So they got a 21, and the Japanese rolled it. They've got a total of 16. Now the nice part is, this was a mandatory attack. All the units get flipped over. Well, there was only 1, and he has to retreat back from where he came from, so he's going to retreat there. And then the satchel charge is going to go back up here, and then the HQ is used up, so he's going to go onto the turn track. We'll get him back here. Just using this as a mnemonic. Because they can only be used once per turn, I believe. So that's that. That was Japanese Impulse. Didn't go very well for them, although they tried. And now, well, it doesn't make a difference as far as trying this land invasion. So we're going to try. This has been a very stubborn resistance in Area 14. So we're bringing in 3rd Battalion. So we've got 4 units. This is a lead attack unit. Is a 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 1 from having the whole battalion is 8 plus 1 from having air support 9. That's what we're looking at. That is not a lot. And then the Japanese are going to defend with their pillbox of 5 plus 2 from the terrain is a 7. oh, I suppose what they'll do is we'll try to call in artillery support, and that's what we'll do for the Americans. And on a 4, 5, or 6, they do. So they have an extra +1. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the Americans are a 10, and the Japanese are a 7. Ooh, that's not good. So the Japanese have a total of 10, and the Americans have a total of 17. So there's 7 attrition points to be had. So what we'll do is we'll spend... Oof, this is bad. 3 to remove the pillbox. 4, 5 to remove this unit. And we'll do 6, 7. Rats. Oh well. So that's all the attrition points used. These guys, the lead attack unit flips, and then they land on the beach. And I think that's the first American victory points of the game. They've got 2, so we'll move the marker up to 1, 2. And the Americans need 10 overall to win. And that's the end of that impulse. The Americans rolled a 7, so the impulse isn't going to change. They're going to move up 1 to 5. And then we'll just keep on going. So this American impulse... Oh, so Japanese impulse... It's not good. We're going to activate this box, the special units box, and we're going to bring out a couple of defenders, I think. These guys are pretty weak, but we're still going to bring them onto the board just to help defend. We're going to put a unit here in this area, I think is what we're going to do. Because they're probably going to take this, and I'm probably not going to be able to keep this guy if I could retreat him in there. So I want to have something in here to help defend it, something at least. So now we've got a unit in every of the VP hex or areas that are still there. So I think that's what they're going to do. I don't know if that's a smart tactical decision or not, but we'll go for it. Then the Americans, they're actually going to activate this area. We're going to use 6 movement points, so because this area is adjacent to enemy units, that costs a total of, I think, 2 movement points. So we'll move 1, 2, and then we've got 4 movement points left. I think we're actually going to go for it. They're going to move in and assault this area. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 to move into an area with only full strength units. So we've got a lead attack unit. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, plus 1 from having all the light greens is 8, plus 1 air support is 9. And they're going to try and call in artillery support as well. See if that's available. It is. So they're at a 10 attack strength for the Americans. And the Japanese have a 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll roll the dice. And the Americans roll a 6. And the Japanese have a 7. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the Japanese. And a 16 for the Americans. So we've got to do a few reductions and retreats here. So it's a 4 difference. So we'll go 1, 2, and we'll go 3, 4. That's what we're going to do. So this becomes an American controlled area. Lead attack unit's going to flip over to his reduced side. We'll leave him here. And the Americans roll a 6, so nothing happens here. We move up to the next impulse. At which point, the Japanese, what are they going to do? It's looking quite slim, I feel. I'm a little bit worried about that, if I'm honest with myself. So I think they might move another. I think they might just move in here. I think that's what they're going to do. I don't know if that's a good. I feel like it might be quite a weak move, but I got to try and hang on as long as possible. I think that's all I'm really going for at this point. So that's that. So that's the Japanese. So the Americans at this point, I think we're gonna do... We might do a few risky things, I'm not sure. So, we're gonna do some moves, I think. So, this battalion, we're gonna activate this area. They're gonna go 1, 2... 3, 4... 5, 6. I realize now that I probably shouldn't have done that. I didn't realize how close. This is clearly a very small and very tight map. So that's where that ends up. So let's do a sunset. Well, that's not even the end of the moves. These guys are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 in here and flip this. So they're going to gain 2 VPs. 1, 2. And they're going to roll sunset roll. And they rolled a 5, which is lower than this, so that's going to be the end of the turn. And we're going to go on to turn 3. But before we do that, let's do another refit phase, and we'll do another night phase as well. So the night phase, wow, that was somewhat untimely. Obviously, this is going to get very bloody and brutal in turn 3, and the Americans are going to try and kind of take everything. But before we do that, we're going to do all of the refitting here, so to speak. And there is not a lot that we can do. Alright, so during the night phase, so the night phase first, we'll do that. During the night phase, we're going to pull out a bunch of these guys. That's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of go crazy. We'll do, it's effectively doing some banzai charges is what we're going to do. So we're going to drop... It's very difficult to say what we should do. So we're going to drop a machine gun nest in here. We're going to drop another unit in here. I feel like we're just going to be hanging on to the mountain for as long as humanly possible. I feel like that's what's going to boil down to. Gosh. And in placing those, I feel like I want to do another counterattack. Like, I aggressively want to do that to try and use my satchel charge to try and throw the Americans off. But that's so dangerous. It's really hard for me to make that decision, honestly. So, we're going to make the dice do that decision for us. I think if I'm gonna do it... so it has to be from units that I just placed. So I'm going to do this guy, and he'll probably bring along this dude. They'll do an attack into... that's... Well, here's all +2. None of these are good. They'll attack into here. 3. No. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. It's too risky. I'm too scared to do it. I think there's enough in there that the Japanese can hang on. Especially if they can get their kamikaze to take out some of these bombardments. Too risky. Not going to do anything. So, we'll just go on to the refit phase. During the refit phase, the Americans always go first. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 refit points. So basically, they're going to be able to refit basically everything. So we flip the first one. We're going to flip 1, 2. So that's everything flipped there. And they'll do another refit point. 3, 4. Because these guys have a supply line going all the way around the back. So that was 2 of their 4 refit points. The other 4 we're going to use... Oh, we got these guys on the beaches. I forgot about these guys. We'll flip all 4 of these guys for the last 2. So actually we're all full strength, which is very good for the Americans. Because they'll get negative victory points for having a bunch of guys that are reduced or eliminated. So, that's their turn. The Japanese have 1 refit point. They could rebuild an eliminated unit at half strength. They might do that as well. I think that's what I'm going to go for here. So they're going to spend 1 refit point to flip this one and this one. Yeah. And then they're going to use the advantage to rebuild a unit at half strength. And we will stick him in any in-supply area. I think, ooh, it's risky. We'll stick him in here, I think. So we've got a lot of clustered units hanging on into caves, into rubble, all that kind of stuff. So that's where we're at with, I think that's what we're doing. So, what we'll do now is kind of just some cleanup here. So we're going to flip all the used counters, get the kamikaze back. Bombardments, naval bombardments here. And we'll go to turn 3.